Today, instead of talking about how to automate, I want to talk about why to automate. And unfortunately, my answer of because it's fun doesn't really translate well into the real world. When you're looking at what to automate, the first thing that most people and pretty much every business will ask is, what's my return on investment or ROI? And the most common calculation you'll see for this is time spent minus the amount of time it takes you to build it. And sure, that's part of it, but that's not all of it. And that's all you're looking at, you're going to miss out on a lot of value and some potential pitfall. And in some cases, it could cause you not to automate something that you absolutely should be automating. When you're looking at what to automate, it's not just about saving time. It's about changing how work gets done. In this video, I'm going to go through my process on deciding if something is even worth automating. And yes, ROI plays a large part in that. So let's break down what that actually means. And let's start with the one that everybody knows, time save. Something takes you 2 hours a day to do, and you automate it. Well, that value is really easy to see. Even if it takes you a week to build that automation, you know it's going to save you time in the long run. But let's be honest, most automations are not that cut and dry. Plus, you forgot to factor in maintenance costs. Let's look at another example. Say you spend 30 minutes a day working on a task. That's 2.5 hours a week, 5.5 days a year. Let's say it took you a week to automate this. Well, that's really only saving you 4 hours of time over the year. And again, you're not taking into consideration maintenance costs. But if you can automate it in a day, you've now saved yourself 4.5 days, nearly a full week. Even if you factor in maintenance costs at say 5 minutes a week, you've saved 4 whole days in a year. Somebody with a $60,000 a year salary, that's just over $1,000. To some, that may be a big number. To others, not. But here's where things get interesting. Some tasks don't get done unless they're automated. Things like cleanup, reporting, validation. So the ROI maybe isn't time saved, it's that work actually happens. Unfortunately, this isn't always so cut and dry. It will require you to have some institutional knowledge and make some general assumptions. For example, if I spend an hour building an automation to automatically sort my emails, I can't say that's going to save me 2 hours a week, but every time I search my email for something, I'm saving myself a fraction of time. Now, if I spent a month building that, I know I would not get the ROI on it. Or you can think of it like, say, automatic log archive. You write an automation to move old log files off of your expensive SAN storage to slower archive storage. You're now saving hardware costs from not filling up drives and having to buy more, and potentially saving the company thousands of dollars in downtime because the ERP system went offline because the SQL drives filled up. Right? I could continue to rattle off example after example, but the point is to think about costs and savings, not just in time, but overall business impact. And automation doesn't just save time, it changes scale. A manual process may handle 10 items. An automated one can handle 10,000 with no extra effort, and it runs faster. Minutes instead of hours, hours instead of days. Plus, it doesn't stop at 5 p.m. That speed and scale is where automation really starts to compound. My very first automation actually came out of a process like this. I worked for a small manufacturer, and every morning when I came in, there would be about 10 to 20 EDI orders sitting there waiting for me to process. I would have to move each file, import it into a database, wait for it to finish, because this was SQL 2000, and then run another script to process the order, and then repeat this process for each subsequent file. It took 5 to 10 minutes per file to get done, and it was a great way for me to kind of start my day, get my coffee, and kind of settle in. But then we signed a new deal. And the next day, I had 200 files sitting there waiting for me. Then 300 the day after. Suddenly, I was spending my entire day babysitting these things instead of doing my actual job. I did end up automating it, but it took several very late nights and a couple of weekends to get it done. Had I automated it back when it was 10 to 20 files, it would have been seamless when it became 2 to 300. Next, it's human error. Messing up a spreadsheet is one thing. Messing up vendor payments or deleting the wrong data is something else entirely. Or, like in my previous example, missing one of those EDI orders could have cost thousands in lost revenue and a very angry customer. Automation gives you consistency. It runs the same way every time. And automation never forgets to do something or thought James was going to handle it. And consistency reduces the risk in a way that's hard to measure, but is very real. And there's also the human side. Repetitive work is exhausting. It kills focus. It kills motivation. I know all of you have probably sat there and stared at an Excel sheet that had to have 40 different columns and it changed, and you had to make that decision on whether or not it was better to create an equation to do it or, have it just manually do it, those type of things. I've always said that automation has turned my ADHD from a problem into a superpower because if I have a repetitive task, I'm automating it. So when you're automating, though, you're not just saving time, you're giving back time to do higher value work. Previous example again, when I was processing 2 to 300 EDI files, I wasn't doing my job. I was just handling those files. So designing systems, solving problems, actually thinking, all of that is freed up by automation. Also, automation doesn't have to be woken up at 2 a.m. because some people don't understand time zones exist. It's just there and it's ready to work. Let's talk about something a lot of people don't consider enough, and that is how well you build your automations. Anyone can build an automation that runs once, right? But have it build reliability is going to give you far more ROI than any single one-off automation. Let me explain. I'm sure there's a lot of, contractors, construction workers, folks out there that could probably build a bridge that holds one car at a time. But real engineering is building a bridge that survives heavy traffic, bad weather, accidents, years of repeated abuse, right? And the same thing applies to automation. An automation that succeeds once in perfect conditions is a demo, a workflow that handles edge cases, keeps logs, recovers from failures. It can safely be rerun, becomes infrastructure. And infrastructure creates trust, and that trust creates real ROI. And then there's also the long-term impact. A good automation isn't just a one-off solution. It becomes a pattern, something you can reuse, something you can build on. And once you start thinking that way, every new automation gets easier. Think back to the structural engineer building a bridge. Not every engineer is building a bridge from scratch. There are tried and true tested structures that engineers can adapt to the specific needs. I'll take a look at it from a business perspective. Say you want to monitor a competitor's website for pricing. One approach is to build a custom automation that is hard-coded with click here, click there, scrape for pricing, expand accordions, look for more pricing, click back, click next, and on and on and on and on and on. This works until the website changes. The moment that company redesigns their website, that automation breaks. Now multiply that by the number of competitors you have. That could be the hundreds or the thousands. So instead, you build a reusable framework that you can feed any small customization to. All right, you have it identify pricing sections, detect product names, normalize plan structures, extract pricing regardless of layout. Now, instead of building 100 separate automations, you're building a system that adapts to a new website using the same underlying patterns. In full disclosure, this is a wonderful use case for AI, but let's stop it for another day. While this will take longer to build initially, it will take significantly less time than building the same automation over and over and over again. Plus, your maintenance upkeep will be dramatically less. And that's where the real return shows up, because automation alone is not going to save you time. Good automation is going to save you time. Bad automation can cost you time. And which brings us into our last one of the biggest mistake you can make is automating a bad process. A computer will not fix a broken process. It will just break it faster. The old saying, to err is human, to really mess things up takes a computer. Well, a bad automation can cause more harm than just failing. So before you automate anything, make sure that the process actually makes sense. And it makes sense to automate, because not all things translate from one-to-one between person and computer. So yes, time saved matters, but that's only a small part of the picture. Automation is about consistency, scale, reliability, and freeing people up to do better work. Once you start thinking that way, the ROI becomes a lot clearer and a lot easier to justify. Now, if you want to go in depth on the technical side of how to design for these outcomes, I'm excited to announce that I've started offering a course on Maven. This is a hands-on course that I teach live personally. This is not a pre-recorded set of videos. This gives you a small group setting where I can provide direct feedback, answer your specific questions, and help you work through your own automation challenges in real time. We go deep into how automation actually works, breaking tasks into steps, structuring inputs and outputs, handling edge cases, and building systems that can run reliably again and again. So whether you're using Make, Zapier, NAN, AI, or code, the goal is to help you understand the fundamentals so you can apply them confidently to your own work. Of course, I'm going to keep putting out free videos and resources like this either way, so please be sure to subscribe. And a link to the Maven course is in the description below. And until next time, keep building, stay curious, and automate the boring parts.